My beloved child, stop. Do not scroll. Do not let the noise of whatever is pulling at your attention right now convince you that this moment does not matter, because it matters more than you currently understand. I guided you here today. Through every distraction that competed for your eyes, through every other direction your restless heart could have turned, I brought you to these words. And I am asking you with the fullness of everything I am, to give me your complete attention right now, not for a little while, completely. Because what I am about to say to you is not something I will repeat, and it is not something you can afford to miss. I have been trying to reach you, not just today, not just this week, but across every season you have walked through in recent years. I have been reaching for you in whispers and in stillness, in the faces of unexpected kindness you encountered without asking for them, in the gentle prompting that arrived in the quiet moments between the noise of your days. I have been speaking into your life continuously, persistently, with a love that does not grow tired and a patience that does not run out. I have been speaking through the doors that closed before you could walk through them. I have been speaking through the relationships that ended in ways that still confuse you. I have been speaking through the clarity that arrived sometimes in the moments when you finally stopped moving long enough to feel something other than the rush of getting through another day. I have been present in all of it, without exception. I want to be very clear about something that I think you have misread in the long seasons of silence. When I do not give you the answer you asked for in the way you asked for it, that is not evidence that I was not paying attention. I am always paying attention. Every word you have ever spoken to me in the dark, every quiet negotiation you had with me in the still hours of the morning, every prayer you offered with a trembling voice and uncertain faith has been received. Not one of them fell to the ground without being caught. What looked like unanswered prayer was prayer that was answered in a different dimension than the one you were looking at. What looked like closed doors was sometimes me holding them shut from the other side, so that you would not walk into something that looked promising on the surface but would have cost you things you did not yet know you needed to. Protect. I see further than you see. I always have. And the moments when my vision and yours have diverged the most have been the moments I was working the hardest on your behalf. But today I am here with something I have not said to you quite this directly before. This is the final time I will reach for you in this particular way. I know those words land with weight. I know the first instinct your heart has is to brace against them, to argue with them, or to dismiss them as language that sounds more dramatic than it really is. But I am not being dramatic, my child. I am being honest. And the honesty I am bringing you today is not a punishment, it is a gift. What I am telling you means that something is changing. Something is shifting in the spiritual architecture of your life. And this moment, this encounter, this word entering your spirit right now, is the hinge between what has been and what is coming. Stay with me. Every word of what I am about to say carries weight you will need in the days ahead. You have been feeling something lately that you have not been able to name. A kind of restlessness that follows you through your days. A vague unease that sits beside you even in your most ordinary moments. A sense that something is moving just below the surface of everything visible. You have tried to manage it by staying busy enough that it does not get too loud. You have filled the silence with whatever was available, with noise and with tasks and with the company of other people, because the quiet has begun to feel like it holds something you are not yet ready to face. But the feeling keeps returning. It comes back in the still moments. It comes back late at night when the darkness is too complete to distract you from yourself. It comes back when you catch a glimpse of your own reflection and wonder, for just a second, whether the person looking back is the one you were always meant to become. That feeling is not anxiety. That feeling is not evidence that something is wrong with you. That feeling is me, knocking on the door of your heart with a knock that is becoming increasingly urgent. My child, I need you to understand something about this word final before it settles into the wrong place inside you. When I say this is the final time I am reaching for you in this way, I am not saying I am withdrawing from your life. I am not saying my love has an expiration date or that my patience has finally met its limit. What I am saying is that the particular way I have been speaking to you, gently, quietly, through soft impressions and subtle prompts, is changing. The season of quiet invitation is giving way to something else, and what is coming requires a different kind of attention from you than what the last chapter required. You are being called to step into something real, something that was prepared for you before you had the language to ask for it. And this word right now is the call. The enemy has been working very hard in your life, and I want to name that plainly. because you deserve to understand the full context of what you have been experiencing. The tiredness that has settled into your bones over these past months and years is not simply the natural result of living a demanding life. It is the result of sustained spiritual pressure that has been specifically designed to accomplish one thing: to create distance between you and the sound of my voice. The enemy does not need you to abandon me entirely. He does not need you to stop believing. He only needs you to doubt me practically, to live as though I may exist in some general sense but cannot actually be relied upon for the things that matter most to you personally. That subtle shift is all he needs to keep you functioning without the full power I have made available to you. And the way he has accomplished this is not through dramatic assault. He has done it through accumulation, through the slow, quiet accumulation of every prayer that seemed to go unanswered, every hope that was delayed beyond your ability to understand, every wound that healed slower than you wished, every door that closed when you were certain it was meant to open. Each one taken alone might not have been enough to shake your foundation. But together, layered over years, they have built something inside you, a quiet and stubborn caution, a reluctance to hope too specifically, to ask too boldly, to trust too completely, because experience has taught you that the cost of being disappointed again is higher than you want to pay. And I understand that caution, my child. I do not fault you for developing it, but I need you to hear what that protection has also cost you. The walls that protect you from pain also protect you from me, and a heart that has learned to guard itself very effectively has, without meaning to, guarded itself against the very presence that was meant to be its greatest source of healing. It was a protection your heart built around itself because it had been hurt. Hearts that have been hurt do what they know to do. They build walls. They learn to manage expectations. They find ways to need less so that losing less does not break them. But here is what I need you to hear. I have been knocking on a wall that you built for good reasons, and I am not angry about the wall. I see why it exists. I see every wound that laid the first stone. But today I am asking you to take it down, because what I have for you on the other side of that wall is worth the vulnerability of opening yourself to receive it. There is something I want you to know about why this moment is what it is. Not every window of grace stays open indefinitely. Not every invitation can simply be reissued on the same terms at a later date. Time moves forward. Seasons change. The spiritual architecture of a life is not static, and what is available in one season may not be available in the same form in the next. This particular window, the one I am holding open for you right now, is one I am asking you to step through today, not tomorrow, not when your circumstances feel more settled, not when the conditions of your life feel more prepared. Today, I am asking you to be available to what I am about to show you, even if you are not sure yet that you are ready for it. My beloved child, I want to take you to a feeling, not backward in time to rehearse your failures, but to a feeling you know from a specific season of your life, a time when the connection between us was alive in a way that felt different from anything before or since. There was a time when prayer felt less like a discipline and more like a conversation you actually wanted to have. There was a time when the presence of my spirit was something you could feel like warmth, like a clarity that settled over you in the moments you gave me access. There was a time when you knew, not just believed but knew, that I was with you, and that knowing was enough to make the weight of the day bearable. You remember that time. Maybe it was years ago. Maybe it was a season when your life had been stripped down to something simple, and it was in that simplicity that you found me. You remember it, and you know the difference between that season and where you are now. Some part of you has been grieving that difference quietly, in the private corners of your days, without fully naming what you were grieving. You have told yourself that you simply grew up, that life became more complicated, that the clarity of that earlier season was the luxury of simpler times. But that is not the truth of what happened. And today I want to tell you what actually changed. That place is not gone. That access is not closed. The door to that kind of nearness does not lock from my side. I am the same today as I was in that season. My presence has not moved, and my love for you has not diminished. The warmth you felt then was not a reward for a level of spiritual performance that you have since fallen below. It was simply the natural result of proximity, of closeness, of a heart that was turned toward me and a spirit that was open to what I had to give. And proximity is available to you again. Closeness is available to you again, right now, not as a destination you must earn your way back to, but as a decision you can make in this moment. Turn toward me. Just turn. That is all it takes to begin. The rest is my responsibility. My beloved child, I have been watching over your life with a precision that would take your breath away if you could see even a fraction of it. There is no corner of your story that I do not know. There is no detail too small to have escaped my attention. The conversation you had weeks ago that left you feeling unseen. The dream you quietly buried because it seemed too far out of reach. The habit you developed to numb a pain you have never quite been able to fully articulate. The relationships you maintained long past their season because you were afraid of what the emptiness after them would feel like. I know all of it. I have known it as it was happening, in real time, not from a distance. And I am not here to judge any of it. What I want you to understand is that there is a difference between a God who watches and a God who is present. I have not simply been observing your life from a distance, cataloging your choices, tallying your failures. I have been in the room with you. In every room you have entered, I was with you in the waiting room when you did not know how to hold the weight of what was coming. I was beside you in the car when you pulled over because you could not see through the tears. I was sitting across from you in every conversation where you tried to explain how you were feeling and watched the other person look at you with kind eyes that did not quite understand the depth of what you were carrying. I was there. I have always been there. And one of the lies the enemy has told you most effectively is the lie that my silence meant my absence. It did not. It never did. I know what it is like to be the one who keeps giving and not be seen. I sent my son into a world that did not recognize him, and he poured himself out for people who looked past him, argued with him, and ultimately turned away from him at the moment he needed them most. I know what it is to love without guarantee of that love being received. And I kept loving anyway, because love that stops when it stops being returned is not love at all. It is simply an exchange. What I have for you is not an exchange. I do not love you because of what you bring. I love you because you are mine, and that fact is not contingent on your performance or your consistency or the quality of the faith you have managed to hold on to through the hard years. You are mine. That is fixed. And everything I do in your life flows from that fixed fact. I saw the morning you woke up and for a few seconds forgot the weight, and then it came back before you had fully opened your eyes. I saw you carry the smile through the day that cost you something to hold. I saw you reach for encouragement to give someone else when your own reserves were completely empty, because you did not know how to stop being what everyone needed even when you had nothing left to give. I saw the moment you sat alone and let yourself feel what you had been holding back for weeks, and I watched you breathe through it, and I was proud of you for that. You thought no one was watching. I was watching, not to evaluate you, to be with you. There is a difference. And I need you to understand that difference because it changes everything about what receiving my presence actually feels like. I saw the night you sat in the dark and gave yourself permission, for the first time in a long time, to stop pretending you were fine. I saw the weight that left your shoulders in that moment, even through the grief of it. I saw what it cost you to be honest with yourself about how tired you really were. And I want you to know that in that moment, when you had nothing left to perform, when the last of the composure dropped, that was one of the most honest moments between us in a very long time. I was closer to you in that darkness than I had been in many of the lighter seasons. Because in the light we perform for each other, in the dark we actually meet. And I have been waiting for you in the dark, not to find you at your worst, but to find you unguarded enough to receive what you were too defended to take in when everything was going well. You have been lonely in a way that does not have a social solution. You could be in the middle of a crowd of people who love you and still feel the particular loneliness I am describing, because this loneliness is not about the number of people around you. It is about the depth of connection your spirit was designed for and has been surviving without. You were made for communion with me. You were made for a level of knowing and being known that nothing else can replicate. And you have felt the absence of it, not as a named grief, but as a low hum of incompleteness that persists beneath the surface of even your happiest moments. That ache is not a malfunction. That ache is a compass. It is pointing you toward exactly what you need, and what you need is here, with me, in this moment. I want to tell you something about the people you have watched walk into their breakthroughs while you were still waiting for yours. I know the complicated mixture of joy and grief that lives in that experience. The genuine happiness for someone you love and the quiet ache that comes right after it, the one that shows up before you have time to stop it. I have seen that too. Their season opening was not evidence that yours was forgotten. The sequence of provision is not first come, first served. It is ordered according to what each soul needs and what each story requires. Your timing is not their timing. Your chapter has its own architecture. What I am building in you requires the specific depth that this waiting has created. Do not compare the outside of their story to the inside of yours. I want to show you something about the way I have been present in the seasons that felt most silent, because one of the most effective lies the enemy has told you is that my silence meant my absence. That when you prayed and nothing seemed to shift, when you cried out and the answer did not come in the form or the timing you needed, that meant I was not there. That meant your prayers were not reaching me. None of that was true, my child. None of it. The silence you experienced in those seasons was not the silence of an absent God. It was the silence of a God who was working in the unseen, who was moving in dimensions you do not have eyes for yet, who was holding back certain answers not because he did not care, but because he saw what you could not see. He saw the door that would have damaged you if you had walked through it when you wanted to. He saw the relationship that looked like the answer but was actually a detour. I was not silent. I was strategic, and everything I have been doing has been for your good. I want to speak to the fear that has been living in your chest regarding what this word final means for us. I know some part of you heard me say this is the last time and felt something that was not quite panic but was adjacent to it. I know because I know you. I know the shape of the anxiety that visits you in the quiet, the particular flavor of the dread that shows up when something that has been reliable feels like it might be changing. I am not leaving. That is not what this is. I am not withdrawing my love or my presence or my investment in your life. What is happening is something entirely different. What is happening is that the version of our relationship that has allowed you to keep me at a comfortable distance is ending. The way of relating to me that permitted you to acknowledge me without being changed by me, that way is closing. Because I love you too much to let you stay in a relationship with me that does not cost you anything and does not give you everything. My child, do you feel something right now in the place below your thoughts, below the surface of your intellectual engagement with these words? That sensation, that stirring, that thing that is neither quite emotion nor quite thought but feels somehow more real than either of them. That is recognition. That is your spirit identifying the voice it was made to hear, cutting through the noise of everything else and landing in a place that nothing else can reach. Your spirit knows my voice. Even when your mind has been trained by hard experience to be cautious, even when your heart has built its protective structures around itself, your spirit remembers. Your spirit has been waiting for exactly this. Let it receive what I am offering. Let it remember what closeness felt like and open the door to experiencing it again. There was a man once whose story I want you to hold. His name was Elijah, and he was a prophet, a person who heard my voice with unusual clarity and acted on what he heard with unusual courage. He had just come through one of the most dramatic public demonstrations of divine power in the history of his people. He had stood against hundreds of prophets of a false god, and the fire of my presence had fallen and consumed the offering on the altar and vindicated him entirely. By every visible measure, he had just witnessed what happens when I move, and he had been the vessel I moved through. And then a single threatening message reached him, and Elijah ran. He ran into the wilderness and sat down under a tree and asked to die. He said, "It is enough. I have had enough." And what I want you to notice is this. It was after his greatest victory that he collapsed. It was when he should have felt most secure in my power that fear drove him further into isolation than he had ever been. That is not a story about weakness. That is a story about what sustained spiritual warfare does to a human soul that has not been replenished. I am telling you this because you know this pattern from your own life. There are moments when you have seen evidence of my presence so clearly that you felt you could never doubt it again. And then something happens. A threat, a disappointment, a failure, a fear, and the certainty you felt in the moment of the breakthrough evaporates faster than it arrived. And you find yourself wondering how you can have seen so clearly and yet feel so lost, how you can know the things you know and still be this afraid, how you can have experienced what you experienced and still be sitting under the same tree, in the same exhaustion, asking the same questions. My child, that is not a sign of weak faith. That is the sign of a human soul under prolonged pressure. Elijah was not weak. Elijah was exhausted. And exhausted people do not need a longer list of requirements. They need food and rest and the sound of a voice that says, "Arise." So I am saying that to you right now. Arise, not in the sense of dramatic action or immediate transformation. Arise in the sense of lifting your head from the position it has been in. in the sense of releasing the grip you have maintained on the version of your life that has become too heavy to carry any further alone, in the sense of receiving what I have prepared for you before you even understood that you needed it. The food was there before Elijah asked for it. The angel was already present before Elijah opened his eyes. I do not wait until you have demonstrated your readiness to provide what you need. I prepare in advance, because I see in advance, and what I have prepared for you is already waiting. You do not have to earn your way to it. You only have to receive it with open hands. I want to talk to you about the patterns that have been repeating in your life, not to analyze them into the ground or to attach shame to them, but to show you something I think you have been close to understanding without quite arriving at it. The cycles you have noticed, the particular ways that certain seasons seem to loop back and arrive again in different costumes, those are not evidence that you are permanently stuck. They are not proof that your story is going in circles and will continue to do so indefinitely. What they are is evidence of a threshold, a specific place in the narrative of your life that you have approached again and again, each time carrying a little more of what is needed to step through, until this moment, this particular arrival at the threshold. When you are finally carrying enough of the right things to actually cross, you have not been failing. You have been preparing, and the preparation is complete. You are standing at the threshold right now, and I am changing the foundation of your life, not to destroy what is there, but to build what is possible. And foundations are changed from underneath, which means from the outside it can look like nothing is happening, or worse, it can look like things are falling apart. But the appearance of collapse is sometimes the necessary stage before the strongest structure can be laid. If you are in a season where things that once held are no longer holding, do not read it as failure. Read it as renovation. The walls that fall in a renovation are not accidents. They are deliberate removals. I know which walls in your life have been load-bearing and which were only ever pretending to be. I am taking down the ones that were pretending so that something real can be built in their place. Trust the process even when it looks like loss. I am not going to let you walk away from it again without at least hearing what is on the other side. On the other side of this threshold is the version of your life I wrote before you were born, not the version you have constructed out of the available materials of your circumstances, not the scaled-down version that has made accommodations for disappointment and adjusted its expectations to match what has felt possible. The version I wrote, the one that I shaped you for, that I built into the design of your spirit, that I have been working every chapter of your story to move you toward. It is not too late for that version of your life. It is not too far. The gap between where you are standing right now and where that life begins is shorter than you think. I will not tell you it requires no effort, but I will tell you that the effort it requires is something entirely different from what you have been doing to survive. It is the effort of surrender, not the effort of striving. Think about Joseph, not the comfortable summary that moves quickly from the pit and the prison to the palace. Think about the actual years. Think about what it meant to sit in a prison knowing you had done nothing to deserve it, knowing that you had been faithful, that you had refused what you could have taken, that you had held your integrity in a place where no one would have known if you had let it go, and still the prison, still the waiting, still the silence from a heaven that knew exactly where he was and had not moved yet. Joseph did not know the end of his story while he was living the middle of it. He only knew today, and today was a cell in faithfulness and trust. My child, you are living the middle of your story, and the middle is the part that does not make sense yet. But I promise you, the end of this story has already been written, and it is not what the enemy has been trying to convince you it is. It is better than anything you have allowed yourself to imagine. My child, I want to reveal something to you about what the delays in your life have actually been, because I think if you understood what has been happening in the unseen realm, everything that has felt confusing or painful or extended beyond reason would take on a completely different shape. What has looked like a closing down has actually been a clearing out. What has felt like a wall has actually been a boundary line drawn by my hand, not to cage you, but to protect you from territory that would have cost you more than you could afford. What has felt like silence has actually been a kind of holy preparation, a shaping, a refining, a deepening of something inside you that needed depth before it could be released. The delays were not punishment. The delays were divine architecture. They were the scaffolding of a life that required a stronger foundation than what you were standing on when you first asked for what you asked for. I want to address something I know has been sitting in the back of your heart since I said the word final at the beginning of this message. You may have heard it as a threat, as the sound of a door beginning to close. But I want to tell you what I actually meant, because I meant something very different from what the enemy would have you believe. When a loving father says to a child, "This is the last time I will say this," he is not walking away. He is leaning in. He is saying, "I have used every other way I know to reach you, and now I am doing the thing that love does when the stakes are high enough. I am being plain. I am being plain with you today because the stakes are high, not because you are in danger of losing my love. You cannot lose my love. But because you are in danger of missing the chapter of your story that I have been preparing for a very long time, and that chapter requires you to be awake. Be awake, my child. Do not let comfort keep you asleep. My beloved child, breathe. Just breathe for a moment before I say anything else. Let your shoulders come down from wherever they have been held. Let the muscles of your chest expand around a breath that is not rushing anywhere. Let your mind, just for this moment, stop calculating, and stop anticipating, and stop preparing for the next thing. There is nowhere you have to be right now except here, with me, in this moment that was prepared for you before this day began. I want to tell you what I am releasing over your life as you receive this word today, because I do not bring you to a moment like this and leave you with only an emotional experience. I bring you to moments like this to mark them, to establish them, to anchor something in the unseen realm that will carry weight in everything that comes after. What happens here is not temporary. It is a turning point. What I am releasing over you is freedom, not the freedom of circumstance, not the freedom that depends on your situation changing before you can feel it. Freedom in the spirit. Freedom from the invisible weight of every judgment you have ever received and absorbed and turned into an internal verdict about your own worth. Freedom from the grip of every disappointment that has been quietly shaping your expectations downward for years. Freedom from the version of yourself that you became in the process of surviving the hardest chapters of your story, because that version of you was necessary and brave, and it got you to today, but it is not the version that is designed for what is coming. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to become something your past self could not have imagined. I give you permission for all of it. I want to say something about the people in your life who have not fully understood you, the ones who have looked at the depth of who you are and responded with something less than you needed, the ones who stayed when they should have gone and went when you needed them to stay, the ones who meant well but whose presence cost you more than their absence would have. I want you to hear this clearly. Their limitations were never a reflection of your value. What they could not give you was never evidence of what you did not deserve. The ways they fell short were the result of what they were carrying and what they were capable of, not a verdict on you. I have not sent everyone into your life to stay. Some were sent for a season, to carry you through a particular stretch of road, and when the road turned, their season was complete. I was in every one of those endings, and I was protecting you in ways that will become clearer as more of the story is written. I want to speak now specifically about what the new season looks like, because I think you need a picture of what you are being released into, not just what you are being released from. The season that is coming is one where your prayers land differently, where the connection you have been trying to maintain through sheer effort becomes something that sustains itself from a different source, where the weight you have been carrying in your own strength begins to transfer to the shoulders that were always meant to bear it. It is a season where the things you have been asking for begin to arrive, not all at once, not in a flood that would overwhelm you, but in a steady, purposeful sequence that makes it clear, unmistakably clear, that what is happening is not luck and is not coincidence. It is a season of evidence. Evidence that I have been present. Evidence that the waiting was worth it. Evidence that the foundation I built in the hard years was not wasted effort. My child, I want to make you a promise that I am asking you to receive in the deepest place of your spirit. A promise that is not contingent on your performance or your consistency or your ability to get it right from this day forward. A promise that comes from the unchanging nature of who I am, which is the only kind of promise that can actually be trusted. I am not done with you. I have not used up the pages I allotted to your story. The chapter you are in right now, with all its weight and confusion and unanswered questions, is not the final chapter. It is not even close to the final chapter. What is coming for your life carries more beauty, more purpose, more evidence of my hand than anything you have yet experienced, and I want you to live in the expectation of that. Not in denial of what is hard, but in a genuine, deeply rooted, quietly tenacious expectation that my word over your life is the word that stands. I want to speak something specifically over what you have been praying for in secret. The thing you stopped bringing to me with full confidence because the waiting became too painful and the uncertainty became too heavy. I know what it is. I know the shape of it. I know how long you have carried it, and how many times you have almost let it go and then found yourself still holding it when morning came. I want you to know that I have heard every version of that prayer, every desperate version and every quiet version, and every version that barely had words at all. I have heard all of it, and I have not forgotten, not one request, not one tear that accompanied it, not one night spent in the particular kind of hoping that feels like it might break you if it goes unanswered one more time. Do not stop asking. Do not close the door of that particular hope because the wait has been long. The length of the wait is not evidence that the answer is not coming. It is evidence that I am preparing you to receive it properly. My beloved, there is one more thing I want to say before I send you forward from this moment. I want to say it because I think it is the thing that will matter most in the days and weeks after this encounter, when the emotion has settled and the ordinary demands of life have returned, and the enemy begins his efforts to convince you that what happened here was just a moment that has already passed. Nothing that is true stops being true because you are no longer feeling it. The things I have spoken over you today are not feelings. They are facts. They are the actual reality of your life as I see it. You are seen. You are loved. You are called. You are protected. You are not behind. You are not forsaken. You are standing at the threshold of the chapter that everything else has been preparing you for. When the enemy comes back tonight, because he will come with the familiar arguments. He will say nothing has changed. He will say this was just words, just a moment that is already receding into the past. He will point to everything in your circumstances that looks exactly the same as it did this morning and use it as evidence that nothing I said was real. When that voice comes, I need you to remember one thing. Your circumstances do not determine my word. My word determines your circumstances. Not on your timeline, not always in the way you expect, but with a certainty that is not dependent on what is visible right now. Stand on what you have heard, even when you cannot feel it, even when the evidence is not yet visible. Stand on it. That is what faith is. Not the absence of doubt, but the decision to stand on truth when doubt is loud. The season of pressing that is ending and the season of receiving that is beginning will look and feel different. You may not trust the difference at first because you have been in the pressing for so long that ease will feel suspicious. Do not trust your suspicion over my word. When things begin to shift in your favor, when doors begin to open that have been closed for a long time, when conversations begin to carry a different energy, when you begin to feel a return of something you thought you had lost permanently, do not second guess it. Receive it. It is from me. It is what I promised. It is what you have been waiting for. And I am a God who keeps every promise I have ever made over every life that has trusted me with its story. Your story is not the exception to that. Your story is one I have been building toward this day for a very long time. You will see it. Give it time. Let the roots grow before you look for the fruit. I am proud of you, not proud of you as a performance review or a response to achievement. I am proud of you the way a father is proud of a child who kept walking even when the road was hard, who kept showing up even when showing up cost something real, who held on to something of faith even in the seasons when holding on looked like the least reasonable thing to do. You did not give up entirely. You are here, and being here, in this moment, choosing to stay and listen, choosing to receive what I am saying rather than dismissing it and scrolling on, that is not a small thing. It is exactly the thing. It is the thing that every other moment in your story has been trying to bring you to. You are here, and I receive you exactly as you are, not as you think you should be, not as the cleaned-up version you bring out when you feel worthy enough, but as you are right now, in all of it. If the words I have spoken today have reached the place in your spirit where truth lives and taken root, I want to invite you to respond. Type the word Amen in the comments. Not as a formula, not as a ritual that unlocks something mechanically. Simply as a personal act of agreement between your heart and mine. As a way of saying, I was here today, I heard what was spoken, I choose to receive this word and to stand on it rather than on the shifting ground of my circumstances. When you respond to what I say, you are practicing the very thing I have been inviting you into, the practice of hearing and responding rather than hearing and moving on. It is a small act that carries more weight than you realize, because it is the beginning of a conversation, not the end of one. And if you know someone right now who is carrying the same kind of spiritual exhaustion you have been carrying, someone who has been feeling the same distance, the same hollowness, the same quiet, wondering whether the connection they once had with me is still accessible to them, share this message with them. You do not need to know the details of what they are carrying. You only need to know that they need to be reminded that they are seen, that they are loved, that the delays in their life are not punishment, and that a father who calls something final is not a father who is walking away, but one who is leaning closer than he has ever been before. Be the voice that reaches someone today the way you were reached. That act of sharing is not a small thing. It is an act of spiritual generosity that carries its own reward in ways you will see in due time. I want you to know something about the person you are becoming through all of this. The version of you that will walk into the next chapter is not the version that entered this one. You have been changed by what you have carried, not broken by it, changed. The capacity for compassion you have now, the ability to sit with someone else in their darkness without needing them to get to the light faster, the refusal to offer easy answers to hard questions, because you know from experience that easy answers do not hold. These are not simply the marks of suffering. They are the marks of someone who has been prepared to carry something significant. The weight you have been carrying was not only about your own development, it was preparation to be a presence in the lives of others who will come to you in their own darkness and need someone who knows the terrain. You are being equipped, not just refined. There is a difference, and that difference matters because what you have walked through was never only about you. I am speaking a seal over this message right now. What was received here today is not subject to the erosion of time, or the arguments of doubt, or the noise of a world that will immediately present itself with competing claims on your attention. What was planted in you today is sealed. The enemy can argue with your feelings about it. He can challenge your memory of it. But the truth itself is sealed, and truth that is sealed in the spirit does not yield to spiritual opposition. You receive something real today, something that will do its work over the coming days and weeks in ways you will gradually recognize. Do not try to force the evidence to appear faster than it is ready. Let the seed grow in the dark. The timing of the harvest is mine. The certainty of the harvest is also mine. Subscribe so that you do not miss what I am preparing to speak over your next season. There is more coming. What was spoken here today is not the end of the conversation. It is the beginning of a new chapter in it. And I want you to be present for every part of what is coming next. Stay close. Stay in the posture of receiving. The conversation I have begun with you today is one I intend to continue, and I do not want the noise and busyness of an ordinary week to be the reason you miss what I am preparing next. And like this message as an act of your heart saying yes to what was said here today, yes to the truth of who you are, yes to the word that was spoken over your life, yes to the Father who pursued you even when pursuing you was costly, even when your attention was elsewhere, even when every visible indicator said the reaching was going unreceived. My beloved child, I am releasing you now into the rest of your day with everything you have received in this moment. The peace that was spoken over you is real, and it travels with you. The freedom that was declared over you is not a concept. It is a spiritual reality that is active in your life from this moment forward. The word that I have spoken is not returning to me empty. It is going into the soil of your life, and it will produce fruit in its proper season. Go now, knowing that you are seen. Go knowing that you are loved with a love that has no conditions and no expiration. Go knowing that the story I am writing for your life is not finished and the best of it has not yet appeared. Go knowing that every time you turn toward me, you will find that I have been facing your direction all along, waiting with everything you have been searching for. I love you, my child. I love you completely and permanently and without reservation, and I am with you. I was with you before this moment began, and I will be with you long after it becomes memory. You do not walk any part of this road alone, not today, not tomorrow, not in any of the chapters that are still being written, never alone. Go in my peace.